Hello again. A lot of you might be coming to the end of your season, you might be finishing your goal events, and as that happens and as the weather gets a bit darker, if you're in the northern hemisphere, then you start to think about, well, what about next year? But before thinking about next year, it might be better to think about this year, what happened this year, and review how things went, how your training went, how your events went. Did you get injured? Did you get ill? Did you, if you did get injured or ill, how well did you adapt to those things and keep moving forward towards your goals? Or maybe just everything collapsed and you didn't get to your goals. And if that was the case, then why not? And what are you going to do different? Because if you keep doing the same thing every year, then you'll get the same result. So if things went wrong, then you need to change them so that you do better next year. And to do a review of the season, I like to have a big picture of the whole year, and then I can sort of draw on it. So I print out, actually I use the performance management chart in Training Peaks, and then I can draw on that and look at the calendar and look at the details and see, what went well, what didn't go well, where were the dips, where were the big changes, and did the good results come when I expected them to. So first of all, look at the overall volume, and I just write down what happened in the year, just from memory. And then have a look at your goals. What goals did you set? Hopefully you had some goals, some goal events, or one big goal event, and you had some hopes for how you might do in that event. And so did you achieve it? Did you achieve your goals? Did you surpass your goals, or did you not achieve your goals? And if so, why not? So in terms of detail, I'd think about, firstly, did you achieve your goals? How well did you achieve your goals? Did you get ill? If you got ill, how did you deal with it? What impact did your illness have on your season? Did it totally mess up the season? Or was it just a small delay to your training, interference to your training, and you handled it really well and still managed to achieve as well as you might have expected from your initial target? Or did you have some poor results? Did you not achieve the goals that you'd hoped for? Did you not perform as well as you'd hoped? And if so, what was the reason? Were you overly ambitious, or did you do something during the season that didn't work out? Like for me, I was probably a bit overly ambitious with my goals for the season. I'd wanted to do a stage race, which would have been coming up now, but I just overdid it and got overly tired, and therefore there was a drop in my training, and I wouldn't have been fit enough to do the event. But then again, 3 weeks ago I got COVID as well, which was not a very enjoyable experience. So in the end it wouldn't have worked out anyway. But I can learn a lot from that in terms of how I trained during the season, how I messed things up, what races I chose to do, and also how I dealt with COVID. And then once you've got these markers like illness, events, breaks in training, maybe life events, then you can look at what happened around them. So were you training consistently before the event? Were you training consistently a little bit too hard? Were you doing too much intensity? So one of the people that I work with, he's quite susceptible to racing a lot. So if he, one thing he did early season was he did a series of e-races on Zwift, some Zwift races, and there was one a week, and that turned out to be too much for him. So he got a little bit overtrained, and therefore he had to have a few weeks off. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but it's something that we've learned from, and we've now changed things to, or we're aware of it. So if he starts to get a bit tired, if he's doing a block of a few races, then we back off a bit, give him a break, miss some races. And we have to be careful about the number of hard interval sessions that he's doing, because he can't do too many high intensity training sessions. But that's the case for everybody. The thing that really gets you tired is doing too much high intensity, in my experience. You can handle a lot of volume, but doing too many interval sessions is often what leads to overtraining. In fact, I was watching Stephen Seiler's interview with Kilian Jornet last night, and one of the things that Kilian was saying was that if he does too much intensity, more than at most 2 or perhaps occasionally 3 interval sessions per week, then he knows that if he does that for a few weeks, he's likely to either get ill, injured, or overtrained. And I think, in my experience, that's the case for a lot of people. So were you consistent? What was the overall volume of the year? How did it compare to previous years? Did you make a step up? Was it too big a step up? Was it not enough of a step up? Could you have done more? Look at the volume of your training in specific periods. Had you planned to do more volume in certain times of year? And did you do more volume at certain times of year? And was that too much? Is that what led to problems? Or was it a perfect amount and that's what led to your improvements in performance, to your good results? Did you get a lot fitter by doing more volume? And if that's the case, then is it better to vary the volume throughout the year so you have some easy periods and some harder periods? And did you do regular testing? Did you test to see whether you're performing according to your plan? How was your fitness developing? I like to use the power duration curve in WKO or in Strava. So I like to get a power profile, I like to do short efforts, some sprints, some medium type efforts around about that VO2 max, and some longer efforts to check your FTP. And if you're training for longer events, like I know most of you are, then do some longer rides, or do a long ride and then check your performance at the end of that long ride to test your fatigue resistance. So can you ride for 6 hours and then do a 20-minute hill climb? How do you perform in that 20-minute hill climb at the end of it? That can give you a good indication of your fatigue resistance. So doing a series of tests gives you an indication of how things have changed throughout the season, and also are you changing what you want to change? Because that's what training is all about. Training is all about developing specific fitness for your event and changing the things that you want to change throughout the season. And then once you've got a handle on the volume and your performance, then look at the higher intensity training sessions that you did, the specific sessions that you did. Because it's not really the specific sessions that you're doing that's important, it's regularly doing specific sessions, regularly doing a high intensity session. It doesn't really matter whether you're doing 4 by 6 minutes, 6 by 3 minutes, 4 by 8 minutes, 3 by 8 minutes. It's the fact that you're actually doing them and you're consistently doing them that makes these small changes in fitness. And you build that fitness over the year and over year on year. If you've been training for 5 years and you're doing it sensibly and consistently, you'll be fitter after 5 years than you were after 1 year. It takes time to build fitness, particularly for endurance sport. So don't worry too much about the specifics of the sessions that we were doing, but think about the amount of intensity that you're doing and how often you were doing it, and is that a good amount or is that too much? And then once you've done all that, now you've got all the detail, you've maybe got a list of notes of what went well, what didn't go so well, maybe 2 columns. You've got some marked up details on your chart of times that things went well, times that things didn't go so well. The events that you probably could have handled differently, and the events that you couldn't have done anything about, like probably if you had COVID and that's knocked you back for a few weeks or even a few months, then you might not have been able to do anything about that. That's just one of those things. So you then know what you can change. And then you can start to plan next year. How much volume we're going to do in the year? How many hours training are you going to do? Are you going to aim for a higher training load, or are you going to keep it the same? Are you going to change things throughout the season a bit differently? Are you going to vary things differently? Are you going to have a big block of volume and then some recovery and then another big block of volume? Are you going to look to build your FTP in the autumn and then build the volume later on, or are you going to do it the other way around? And then set some goals, make an annual plan and see how that looks. If it looks sensible, then you can put it on paper, get a little bit of a framework. Don't go into too much detail because unpredictable things happen. And you're on your way. But don't rush into things because it's a long time till next season. If you're training for events next summer, then it's a long time till next summer. So give yourself a bit of a break if you've had a hard season and you're tired. If you've done a long multi-day bikepacking event, it takes a long time to recover from that. And it's better to wait till you're recovered before you start training again. And if you need some help, then we've got our group training plan, remember, which gives you a monthly training plan. You get email support, you have a startup one-to-one and quarterly one-to-one meetings with either Claire or myself, depending on what your goals are and what your needs are. And we then support you along the way on your fitness journey. So you might want to check that out. I mean, we're trying to make it as effective as possible. And if you do check it out and you think it looks like it might work for you, but there are certain things missing, then let us know, get in touch. And we might be able to change it to make it work for you. Anyway, so I hope this helps you. I hope you like the videos. If you can do it better, let me know. And if you've got any questions, let me know. Either make a comment, get in touch, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.